If it feels like I've been doing a lot of tag videos lately, that's because I have. I went through a period in the late summer, early fall where they just weren't exciting me, so I wasn't really doing that many. For whatever reason, in October, November, I have seen so many that have excited me. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. This was a tag that was already sort of on my list and on my radar, and then I was tagged by Brian from Bookish. It is the Book Palate Tag. It is all about our bookish taste, and it is originally by Fraser Simons of Springboard Thought. I will link, of course, Brian's video and Fraser's video down in the description, and you should definitely watch both of those because they have some very, very interesting answers that were hard to live up to. I'm going to get started by tagging some more people because there's not that many people who've done this video yet, at least as of the time I'm filming, and I want to see it do more business. That sounded weird. I want to see it get more popular. I think it has some really interesting questions. Hopefully some of you guys will consider doing it, whether I tag you or not. But I am going to specifically tag Thirst Cursed Reads. I'm sorry, I have to read that so slowly every time because my tongue wants to get jumbled on the letters. I'm also going to tag Mariana Mas Books, Sunny Luca, and Nerdy Nat Reads. All of them have some very interesting, very diverse taste in books, and I'm really, really curious to know what some of their answers are to this. Without further ado, let's get into the prompts. The first is Sweet. What is a book that made you excited to read more by that author? Bonus point if it also somehow exemplifies the genre you most like to read. If you've seen my September and October wrap-ups, will be linked up here or something, this will not surprise you, but I read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot series, and fell so incredibly in love with her writing and her style and with that series of books that I read them basically back to back. I was listening on audio, so that helps a little bit. I was just enthralled with her writing, and although I'm taking a brief break in November for Nonfiction November, I can't wait to read more of her books because I'm just obsessed. I'm not sure if this really exemplifies a genre. If I love to read though, are humorous books with profound thoughts and relationships and fantastic found family and snarky protagonists a genre? If yes, it definitely exemplifies a genre I love. If no, why not? The second prompt is Sour. What book did you initially dislike, but after a reread you reversed your opinion on? Or, what is a book you loved at one time, but after rereading it have found it lacking in some way? Bonus point if the book is in a genre you similarly reversed your position on. This isn't one specific book, but I definitely had a total flip when it came to Jane Austen's works. I tried to read Pride and Prejudice when I was maybe 12 years old, and it just didn't work. I read maybe the first chapter or two and went, this is so boring. Why do I care? What's going on? This is so weird. I don't get it at all. And I think it took me close to 15 years to pick up an Austen novel again. But last year, I think actually in November, I read Emma. I will link a video that I made about that up here, and it completely reversed my thoughts. I really love Austen now. I haven't quite reread Pride and Prejudice, but I've read Emma, Persuasion, and Mansfield Park. Really liked all of them. I'm excited to read more Austen. I love her writing style. And I think the same can be said for classics in general. I read Wuthering Heights and Great Expectations by one of the Brontes, I can't remember which, and Charles Dickens in high school, just for like fun, not for school, but I just read them to read them. And I did not like either. It made me think for so long that I did not like classics in general, and I think in the last year and a half, I've really started to see that change, and I've really started to find classics that I enjoy. The next prompt is Bitter. What is a book that you feel is underrated, attacked unjustly by popular or mainstream opinion, or is simply misunderstood in some way? Bonus point if it is not a book anyone else has mentioned already that you know of. I don't think anyone has mentioned this, although I am pre-filming this by quite a ways, so who knows? And it is The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao. I think I've talked about this book on my channel once or twice before, and I may even have talked about this issue before, but not in a while, so it doesn't hurt to bring it up again. This is a family drama thriller type book that centers on an ultra-rich Chinese-Indonesian family. Basically, the entire book takes place in the mind of a coma patient who is the only survivor after her sister has murdered the entire family with poison at a big family party. This one woman survives, no one else does, and she is left lying in a coma, thinking over and figuring out what drove her beloved sister to this point. I thought this book was really, really good. It was so gripping that I read it straight through in one sitting. I started reading at like midnight because I couldn't sleep and did not stop until I had finished the book. It was great. However, I think it is consistently underrated by actual readers because the marketing has not done it justice. This book, as far as I can tell, was incredibly heavily marketed as like Crazy Rich Asians, but darker. And that's just not really a fair way of marketing it. This book is about an ultra-wealthy family in Asia who have drama, but the entire tone and mood and setup of the book is completely different. And if someone came in expecting Crazy Rich Asians, there's a strong chance that they would be very disappointed by what they find. I did pick this up because of that marketing. I liked Crazy Rich Asians. I happened to also really like this, but I can also see both just in general and in the reviews of this that didn't work for everybody. It makes me really sad for a fantastic book to lose out because the publishing house or whoever decides that sort of thing thought that this would be a good way to sell it. The final main prompt is salty. What is a book that changed how you thought about or related to other people, or that made you realize something about yourself you were not aware of previously? Bonus point if you choose multiple books from whatever milestones in your life that feel important to you. I'm sort of cheating with this one because I haven't actually finished reading it yet, but it is Finding Normal: Sex, Love, and Taboo in Our Hyperconnected World by Alexa Tsoulis-Reay. This is a collection of in-depth explorations of people who have in some way abnormal sexual or romantic relationships with other people. I say abnormal, obviously very much in air quotes here. I've only read 2 out of the 5 explorations, studies, whatever we want to call them so far, but both of them have been really, really interesting and really, really made me think and made me question my assumptions. And I think it's going to, if not necessarily strongly change my opinions on things, definitely will have made me examine my opinions and really put them to the test and go, wait, why do I think this? Why do I believe this? Is this something that actually makes sense, or is this a subconscious bias that I did not even realize I'd picked up from the world? There are now some optional prompts. It says, optional prompts for the connoisseur. Treat the following prompt as if they were different foods. Palates vary depending on what you're consuming, i.e. choose as many as you like. I'm terrible at choosing this sort of thing, so I'm just going to do them all. First, we have sophisticated palate. Choose a book from your favorite subgenre or that has your favorite trope or motif. Or just go off regarding a bookish, nerdy thing that you like/enjoy. I don't think I've really mentioned this since I read it in June, I think, and that is Last Night in Nuuk by Niviaq Korneliussen and translated by Anna Halager. This is a novel about 5 people coming of age in Greenland's capital, and it's really different in how it's written, and I absolutely love it. We follow these 5 different characters, and each character gets their own chapter, which covers roughly the same time span as all of the other chapters. And that really works because these characters overlap with each other. They're part of the same social network, web, whatever you want to call it, but they're not best friends or partners or anything like that. So it's not like we hear about one person's perspective and then all the same events from this other person's perspective. It's more, we hear about one person's experience and then in the next chapter, you see the little crossover threads, the point where things intersect, but it's still its own story. I love that sort of storytelling. And what I think Last Night in Nuuk did really, really well in addition to that is each chapter, each person's story has a very different writing feel and narration style. I so enjoyed the fact that when we switch to another character's perspective and another character's story, the entire way the text is structured and the way the narration is set up also changes. It made me feel connected to each character so much more than if we had just heard each character's story from the same style. Next up, we have Unrefined Palate. What is a book or genre that you consider a guilty pleasure? Though you shouldn't feel actually guilty about reading anything, really, but hopefully you know what I mean. Yes, Fraser, I know exactly what you mean. My guilty pleasure is rereading the Franny Fisher series by Carrie Greenwood. Anyone who's been around here for probably more than 3 videos knows that I absolutely adore this series of mystery novels and cannot shut up about them. I will post a link to a whole video I did just fangirling if you would like to know more. But the reason I feel guilty is I know these stories so well. I know how most of them end as soon as I start. I remember the situations. I know the characters so well. I've read them so many times. And sometimes it can feel like, oh man, shouldn't I be reading something new? Shouldn't I be taking this time and reading a book that I haven't read yet? Because there are so many books in the world and I want to read so many of them. Why am I wasting my time rereading this? But at the end of the day, they're like comfort food. They're like wrapping myself up in a duvet in bed after a long day. They're the bookish version of that, and that's something I need in my life. Then we have Eclectic Palate. What are the top 3+ genres you typically read or gravitate to? I'm going purely by the data. According to the story graph, my top genres are fantasy, classics, mystery, historical, history, and LGBTQIA+. That seems about right to me based on what I would describe my reading as. The only one that surprises me is that I've read so many classics this year. A lot of things in there cross over, like the Lord of the Rings series is both a classic and fantasy. Agatha Christie's are classics and mysteries, so that's why that one's so high, I think. It's not because I'm reading books that my brain thinks of as classics all the time. And finally, Maturing Palate. What is a genre you've read little or none of but would like to sample more? What book, if any, prompted this? I really want to keep exploring the romance genre. There are so many subgenres within romance, and I'm only just starting to figure out what I like. I actually read 4 romance novels, and I will link a video where I talk about 3 of them up here, before I found one that actually made me go, oh, this is why people like reading romance. The one that finally did it for me was Accidentally Engaged by Farah Heron. I also have a vlog about this, so I will link a reading vlog up here where I talk about that. For the first time, it just made sense. And now I want to keep trying romance novels and keep trying to figure out what is it that I enjoy, because I like the concept of the genre. I like hearing other people talk about the reactions they have to romance, and I want to find that for myself. That is the end of the prompts, and all of this talk of food has made me want to snack, so I'm gonna go take care of that. Please leave a comment down below letting me know, how would you describe your book palette? And if you liked this video, please give it a like. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.